My sister didn't get into her dream school, but I did.
My entire family thinks I don't deserve it.
Should I just go to school with her? Last week, I found out that I got into Cornell. I still can't believe it. Honestly, it feels like a mistake. I'm not the kind of person who gets into Cornell. I'm definitely not the smartest one in my class. I do alright in school, I guess. My grades were okay, but my school gives pretty good grades to everyone. I was also involved in a few clubs and extra stuff after school, but nothing really exciting. Definitely not the type of thing that would get someone into a college like Cornell. My sister, though, she's completely different. She's a genius. Her grades are amazing, she's always getting awards, and she's super involved in all kinds of awesome things. Everyone always looked up to her, like she was the coolest kid in school. And they were right, she was. It's kind of funny, because honestly I never minded being known as the less smart twin. It was true, after all. It's not like we're competing with each other or anything. So, I just figured there was no way I would get in, especially when she didn't. The only thing that made any sense was that she applied to Cornell's engineering program, while I applied to the arts and sciences program. Cornell actually has a bunch of different colleges, all with their own admission rules. Last week, we finally found out if we got into any of the Ivy League schools. Unfortunately for my sister, she didn't get into any of them, even Cornell, which was her absolute dream school. She found out as soon as the decisions were posted online and called me immediately, crying her eyes out. I tried to tell her everything was going to be okay, that where you go to college really doesn't matter, and that she's brilliant and was going to be amazing no matter what. I tried to sound positive, even though I was scared that the same thing was going to happen to me. For the rest of the week, I just avoided thinking about it. I was sure I hadn't gotten in. And if I had, I didn't want to tell my sister that I did until she was ready. I didn't want to add more sadness on top of everything else. So, I didn't even open my email until that night. You know, maybe there's a good reason they call it good news, for a reason, because it's true. It turned out I'd actually gotten in. Cornell. I couldn't believe it. How could I have gotten in? My first thought was about my sister. It was her dream, it's the only school she really wanted to go to. I know she would be thrilled for me, but it was so hard on her when she didn't get in, and I really don't want to make things worse. She's been so upset for days. She hasn't been her normal self, she's barely talked, and she's been crying almost every day. She even got really mad at her friends who got into really great colleges, even if they didn't even have the same amazing grades she does. She's decided to go to NYU, but honestly, it doesn't seem like she's actually happy about it. She's just going because she doesn't really have any other choice. I can't imagine what it would be like if I told her I got into her dream school while she didn't. I don't even want to think about it. I still haven't told our parents. They probably already guessed I didn't get in, since my sister didn't. Am I being totally selfish? Should I go to New York City with my sister instead? We were supposed to go to college together. That was always the plan. But it's Cornell. My dream school. I can't imagine ever getting to go there. I've been doing research every day, reading about the campus, the professors, the classes. It looks so beautiful. And Ithaca. It's this small town and I'm so over living in the big city. It feels like a perfect opportunity. But I don't know if I can even think about it right now. It would be so hard on my sister. It would crush her. We were supposed to do everything together. Go to the same school, everything. It was just one of those things we always thought would happen, you know? I don't even know who I could talk to about this. Would it be completely wrong to go to her dream school? Especially since she worked way harder than me? I have no idea what to do. Quick summary. I'm the less smart sister, and I somehow got into Cornell. My sister, who's super smart, didn't, and she's totally heartbroken. Cornell was her dream school. I really want to go to Cornell, but I don't want to leave my sister behind. Am I the bad guy for wanting to go to her dream school? Update. So many people online told me to go to Cornell. They said it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and that I'd regret it if I didn't go. I had no idea so many people thought that. But my sister. I still haven't told her yet. I'm scared to. What if she thinks I'm an awful person? Finally, I worked up the courage to tell her. When I told her, she was so excited. She couldn't believe it, she hugged me, she started screaming about how proud of me she was. It was really amazing for a second.
But the happy feeling only lasted for a couple of seconds.
It was like she just flipped a switch and then started crying, really crying. Like her heart was breaking. She sent me this text. Greater than I'm sorry for how I reacted. Please don't be mad. I'm so happy for you and your accomplishments.
It's just that after I got rejected, I at least had the consolation that I get to go to school with you and we can go together. But now you're going to be where I wanted to be and I'm just so sad. I worked so hard and did everything I could to go to the best school I can, and I just feel like all my hard work was just wasted effort.
I'm sorry I'm ranting, I just need more time. I can't even explain how awful it was to read that. I think I cried even harder than she did.
It's hard for me to understand how everyone keeps telling me that I must be brilliant to get into Cornell when I'm really not. I'm not smart at all.
I barely even studied.
I basically just showed up to class, did my homework, and took the easiest classes they offered.
Meanwhile, my sister was taking the hardest classes possible, studying for hours every day, and volunteering for everything. She is a rock star. She deserves to go to Cornell, not me.
It's awful to see her so heartbroken. It feels like this is all my fault.
I am seriously thinking about just going to NYU with her, so she doesn't feel so alone. But then I would be giving up my dream. I finally worked up the courage to talk to my parents and told them that I decided to go to NYU so I could be with my sister. Their reaction wasn't what I expected. They told me I didn't deserve to be at Cornell.
They said that I had probably slacked off my whole senior year while my sister had worked her butt off, so it wasn't fair that I got in. They actually said they were sure there was a mistake on my application. They wouldn't have even considered NYU if they thought my sister deserved to go to Cornell. That's a whole other kind of heartbreaking. My sister was confused too.
She asked why I wouldn't go to Cornell, and they just basically said that it was totally unfair to me and that I was much too lazy.
It really stinks to hear them say stuff like that, especially when you already feel like you're not good enough. They've always acted like my sister is smarter than me, but they've never actually said it before. This time, though, it really stung.
I tried to argue, but nothing seemed to work. We ended up arguing, and then they kicked us out of their room.
I just sat there in my room, feeling completely deflated. I'm so glad my sister stuck up for me.
She defended me to my parents and basically told them to stop being mean. I guess that kind of took me by surprise.
I had no idea that she had always been so defensive of me, and that she believes in me so much.
I realized that I've let their comments really get to me over the years. I let them make me feel like I was less important than my sister, even though I know it's not true. I'm lucky to have her. It's really starting to feel like I should go to Cornell. The more I think about it, the more I feel like this is the chance of a lifetime. It's my dream. And I don't want to give it up, but it's just so hard when my sister is hurting so much.
I still don't know what I'm going to do.
We still haven't talked about it, and I'm still scared to bring it up. Maybe I should go to Cornell and just spend as much time as possible visiting her at NYU. Or maybe I should just forget everything about Cornell and just focus on being a good sister. I'm really lost right now. Maybe I'll just talk to my sister again.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Next story. I found out I was pregnant the same week I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me with his ex-girlfriend.
My boyfriend, Mark, is 24, just like me.
We've been together for a while now, and we have a daughter, Lily, who's 3. She's from my first marriage, before I met Mark. The other night, Mark went out to a bar with some friends. I stayed home with Lily, but I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling in my stomach. I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like something wasn't right. It was like I knew something bad was going to happen. I had a strong hunch that he was going to see his ex-girlfriend, Sarah.
When he didn't come home that night, my heart sank. It felt like my gut feeling was right. The next morning, he finally woke up, looking disoriented and sleepy.
He tried to explain that he'd fallen asleep in his car at the bar.
I felt a knot in my chest.
I didn't believe him. So, I did something impulsive and drove to the bar that morning. I parked my car in the lot, feeling like I was going to throw up. I walked inside, heart racing, but I couldn't find Mark. When I got back home, Mark was still trying to tell me he slept in his car. I told him that I had been at the bar and he wasn't there. He looked like I had caught him in a lie. He became flustered, as if he was trying to come up with another story on the fly.
He said that his friend had given him a ride back to his friend's place because they were too drunk to drive. The story was changing, and it felt like he was losing his nerve.
He was making things up as he went, hoping I'd buy it.
I tried to stay calm, but I was starting to feel really angry. "Why are you telling me so many different things?" I said, trying not to raise my voice.
"I'm confused, and I don't know what to believe."
His voice got softer, almost as if he was trying to apologize for something he had no intention of apologizing for.
He said, "We didn't really drive, we took an Uber."
He said it so casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. It was like he expected me to just accept it, but I had already been through a lot and I couldn't stand the way he was brushing it off.
It felt like he was testing me, seeing how much he could get away with. I just shook my head, feeling drained and sick.
"You think I'm stupid?"
"Just tell me the truth, Mark. I won't yell or anything, just tell me what happened. If you're honest with me, I can understand. If you're lying to me, this is over. You need to tell me the truth if you want to be with me." His silence hung in the air. It felt like a heavy weight. I was ready to walk away. Then he hung up on me. He sent me a text, saying that he stayed at Sarah's place with her brother. I stared at my phone, not knowing what to do next. I knew this was serious. I had caught him in a lie, a big one, and I had no idea how I could even begin to move on from this. "Lily, go to Grandma's for a while. I have something to take care of." Lily looked up at me with big, innocent eyes, and I felt my heart break. I didn't want her to be a part of this, but I also didn't want to protect her from the truth. This was my problem, not hers. But I knew that eventually it would be hers too, and that made me want to scream. Mark called me back. "Hey, listen. I was at Sarah's, okay? We were talking, I don't even know how it happened, but I ended up sleeping at her place. We were just hanging out, I swear nothing happened, okay? I don't even remember most of it, I was too drunk." His voice was weak, pleading, almost apologetic. But the apology was hollow. There was no remorse in his tone. It felt like he was trying to cover up something, like he had something to hide. My chest tightened. "I need a break," I said, voice steady but strained. "You need to think about how to fix this, if you even want to." He tried to convince me, to talk to me, but I knew that the best thing for me was to shut everything out. I needed some space. I needed time to think. A few days later, it happened. My world was turned upside down, not with a bad feeling, but with a joyous realization. It happened with a small stick I had dipped in a cup, held for what felt like forever. The second line appeared and I felt the world shift on its axis. The truth was staring me right in the face. Another new life was about to be born, and we were going to be a family, even bigger, and better than ever before. I called Mark, feeling overjoyed. "Hey, you won't believe what happened," I said. I tried to hide the nervousness I was feeling. I didn't want to ruin the moment. His voice was full of excitement and joy, and I found myself happy to hear it again. I felt a flicker of hope, and I found myself wanting to forget everything that had happened. He was so happy to be having a baby with me. "This is great news," Mark said, his voice filled with a love I knew I hadn't heard before. "You don't know how happy this makes me. I can't wait to be a dad again." It felt real for the first time in what seemed like years. We were going to have a new baby, and the thought of it filled my heart with warmth. The life inside me was growing stronger, and it felt like everything was finally falling into place. I was going to be a mom again, and I had Mark. We were going to start a family. A few days later, my phone lit up. It was a text message from Sarah, and when I opened it, the bottom fell out from underneath me. It was 47 screenshots of messages between her and Mark. They had been secretly planning to hook up while we were going to couples therapy. They had been talking, flirting, and planning a romantic weekend away just before we were supposed to start trying to have a baby. They had even talked about how excited they were to be back together, how this was a second chance for them. My heart hammered in my chest. I reread the messages, trying to find a way out of the cold reality of their words. I reread them again and again, but I couldn't change the words or the facts. Sarah had even texted Mark saying how great it was he was now sleeping in his own bed again, without me there. The truth hit me with the force of a runaway train. It was as though my whole world had been shattered, broken into 1,000 pieces. How could I be this wrong about someone? How could they plan this behind my back, when I was so blindly happy about this pregnancy? How could they? All of my dreams for a family seemed to dissolve in front of my eyes. I tried to hold back tears, but they streamed down my face, mixing with the tears of pure joy I'd cried just a few days before. My hands trembled. "I'm sorry I'm so late, honey," Sarah had texted Mark, sending an image of her sleeping in a silk nightie.
Sarah even asked Mark to call her at a specific time, just before he and I were going to leave for couples therapy. The timing of it all felt cruel, as though she had planned this whole thing out just to be with Mark again. I felt the pain of betrayal like a physical blow to my chest, an unimaginable pain.
I was blindsided and devastated. I felt helpless, like I was standing in the middle of a hurricane with nothing to protect me from the storm.
I tried to think clearly, but it was impossible.
I wanted to reach out to him, to confront him, to scream, but I knew that would only make things worse. He'd deny it. He'd make up another lie. I scrolled through the rest of the screenshots, feeling numb.
Sarah was telling Mark how much she missed him.
They were talking about getting back together, about having a future together.
How could I be so foolish, so naive? I wanted to erase the memories, to forget everything, to go back to that day when I found out I was pregnant, when I thought everything was going to be okay.
I was lost.
The only thing I knew for sure was that I couldn't go on like this.
I couldn't trust Mark anymore. I didn't know how I could stay with him.
How could I, in good conscience, bring a baby into this world knowing that I'd have this hanging over me forever? But how could I abandon him after everything we had been through, especially now?
I reached out to Sarah, wanting to tell her to stop.
But how do you explain to another woman what it feels like to be blindsided, tricked, lied to? To have your heart ripped out and trampled?
To be pregnant and heartbroken all at the same time?
My phone lit up with a message from Sarah.
It read, "Hey, I'm just letting you know. He wasn't who you thought he was, you should really open your eyes. He was going to leave you eventually, just so he could get back with me, just watch." I read the message over and over, trying to make sense of it all.
What had I gotten myself into? Was it a game? Was it a test?
I didn't know what to do.
But I knew I couldn't keep living like this.